Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to return to a brewery who you've seen me review a couple of things from on the channel recently. They're putting out some really interesting beers at the moment and this is one that really just kind of piqued my interest, to be honest with you. So for this review then we're going to head back to Örebro, which is up further north than me here in Skåne in the south, out to the west of Stockholm, and we're going to return to Örebro Brygghus, who are doing some very interesting sour beers at the moment. So this particular beer is called the Det Våras För, or Det Våras För Lime. I don't know exactly how you pronounce the lime in the Swedish accent or whatever, but this one is a lime sour coming in at 5% ABV. And this beer arrived in Systembolaget, I believe, on the 3rd of April 2020 through the Tillfälligt assortment, the sort of former små partiers, of course. So really curious to see how this one turns out. Hopefully it's another interesting beer. The Ramble On and the Fruit Kvike that I had from these guys recently were both very nice beers. This one I'm really not sure what to expect from it. It'll either be like really sour and very puckering, I think, or it'll be really quite nice and just sort of subtle, if you like. I'm really not sure what to expect from this one, but it's not often that you see a lime sour in my experience, and that was the main reason that this one kind of caught my eye, as well as the fact that the last two beers I've had from Örebro recently have been pretty damn good actually. So if you're into your sour beers, this is a brewery that you definitely want to check out. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Örebro Brygghus before. No doubt you will see some more of those at some point in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Örebro Brygghus then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've told you before, Örebro Brygghus are based in the Apsholmen industrial estate in Örebro, and the company is run by Anders Gradberg, Jesper Palm and Christopher Mathiasen, and in total there are actually 8 co-owners of the company, but the brewing is done by Jesper and Christopher, who are both qualified brewers, and they previously worked for Närke Kulturbryggeri, who are really quite well known in Sweden. Those guys are one of the older and more established breweries, I guess you could say, and they do a lot of kind of German and English style beers actually. But Anders, on the other hand, he worked for Systembolaget for 14 years, and if you know anything about the Swedish nationalised alcohol stores, Systembolaget give their staff a hell of a lot of training actually. If you're interested in booze, you know, having a job at Systembolaget is a very good one to have in terms of making you like a cicerone and things like that. Systembolaget gives some very good training to their staff actually. But in 2012 these guys got the idea to start their own brewery, and they introduced their beers into Systembolaget a few years later in 2016. In the brewery they have a brew kit from the UK which can brew 2,000 litres at a time, and from 2017 they had an annual capacity of 200,000 litres of beer per year. I do think that they've expanded this though. I'm sure I wasn't able to find an exact figure as to what they've expanded it, but I think they've increased the infrastructure with more tanks and all this. Most breweries do that just kind of gradually over time, so that 2017 figure might be a little bit inaccurate at the moment. I would guess with the amount of beers that these guys are putting out across the country, it probably is. But in August of 2018 they opened their tap room, which is called the Örebro Ölcafé, and over the last few years they've been brewing a lot of collaboration beers to try and get their name out there a little bit more, as well as visiting various different beer festivals abroad. But as of April 2020, and I'm filming this review for you, they've produced somewhere in the region of 50 different kinds of beer. So yeah, definitely a brewery that you want to check out if you're interested in sour beers. We've got quite a few good sour beer breweries here in Sweden now. I mean, the original one, I guess you could say, would be Bryghus, which is from Landskrona here in the south of Sweden. Temple have been brewing sour beers for a long time. You've also got Bryghus, although they used to do a lot more sours in relation to other things previously. They still do sours, but not as intensively. well, I don't know if that's fair. There's a higher proportion of their beers these days are not sours compared to what it used to be actually. But you also have the likes of Jämerdalen. Who else has been doing sour beers recently? You know, Beerbibliotek are kicking off their sour program. I'm trying to think who else. I think Pang Pang up in Stockholm, you know, they're doing some stuff. I'm probably missing a few. There's quite a few breweries these days are doing sour beers now. So there's a very good selection of sour beer here in Sweden. Well, you've got Morgendagens and a few others that are doing them as well up in the Gothenburg area. So yeah, lots of good sour beers in Sweden at the moment, and in my opinion, Örebro Brygghus are doing some very, very interesting things. So check these guys out if you are interested in sour beers. But yeah, that's all you need to know about the brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to get more of an idea of the different beers that these guys have done. They are quite a prolific brewery, and they seem to put new things out fairly regularly. There's at least one new beer from these guys every month through the local and Småskåligt assortment. Always keep an eye on what these guys are releasing. So yeah, let's get on and have a taste of this one then. So as I told you, this beer is a lime sour coming in at 5% ABV. Det Våras För Lim, or Det Våras För Lime. It is the spring for lime, I guess you could say, the time for lime, I'm not sure. But yeah, nice artwork on this one once again, a little bit different from the artwork I've had on previous Örebro Brygghus beers. There you can see, there is the Örebro Brygghus symbol there, an old factory type building, and there you can see that is also on the bottle cap there as well. So without further ado, let's get this guy out and get on with the tasting then. I'm very curious to see what this beer has in store for us. So yeah, you can smell the limes off this already, so wondering just how sour this one's going to be. And yes, it is green, it's radioactive. So yeah, look at that. It's not often that you'll come across a beer quite this colour. I think the only other one I can think of that I've had that was green was one of the Berliner Kindles, and it was it Waldmeister it was called? That was my friend Toby from Germany, that he brought that one back for me and told me to try it because he really liked it. That was a really interesting beer, that one. So yeah, as you can see with this beer, it's poured a lime green colour, so that's really pretty cool actually. If I hold this one up to the light, it is actually a little bit hazy. I wonder if this is going to be like a lime Berliner Weiss, because it does say on the bottle it's got Vetemalt in it, which is wheat malt basically. So it's got barley malt and wheat malt, so I do wonder if this will be a Berliner, some sort of Berliner Weiss. So yeah, interesting to see. You can see the head that came out was like a sort of quarter finger, but that's faded away to just be a very, very thin foamy layer. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there, that is just faded away. But overall, you know, it looks pretty interesting. You're not going to find too many beers that have this this kind of colour on them actually, so yeah, just pay attention to that when you try this beer. So yeah, a nice looking one. I do wonder, like I say, exactly what kind of style of sour beer it will be. It says just on the bottle that it's a 5% lime sour basically, but it does have wheat malt listed in the base. So yeah, let's have a look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. Ooh, that's interesting. So yeah, you get a little bit of that sort of farmhousey kind of note out of this beer. That's quite interesting. It's a little bit of that kind of herbal, vegetally, woody sort of thing. You can pick up a little bit of the kind of white bready wheat, but really, I'm surprised that it really does come across as being more sort of farmhousing. I don't think that would just be down to the limes. I don't remember lime kind of smelling like that, to be honest. But yeah, the kind of limey notes sort of dominate the aroma, as you would expect when it is a lime sour. You've got a little bit of a kind of lemony tartness to this one as well. So yeah, really mainly a big limey beer, but there is that little bit of lemon citricy note, as I said to you. You have a really you've got quite a bit of a grassy vibe to this beer as well. It's very grassy, very floral. It smells very, very kind of fresh, to be honest with you, which is interesting. So yeah, but the thing that's really surprising about this is just the sort of earthy, kind of woody, floral type thing that comes out of this beer. It's, you know, it really has just a little bit of that almost farmhousey quality to it. So you can definitely get the kind of wheaty notes in there. You do pick up a little bit of that smoother, slightly sweeter, wheaty, white bready sort of thing. There's maybe a little bit of biscuit in there, but underneath that you really get that farmhousey type yeast out of this one, which is quite interesting. I wouldn't have expected that from this beer. Could there be a little bit of Crike yeast or something coming out of it? I don't know. It didn't say what exactly what yeast they'd used in it, but it does have a little bit of that almost Kvike, farmhousey sour type quality to it, which is interesting. So maybe they're starting to brew sour Kvike beers at Örebro Brygghus. These guys have probably got quite a few of their own strains that they've developed from different things. It's quite easy to make your own yeast strains, from what I gather. Quite a lot of breweries, I think, use some of the, it depends on what beers and stuff, but you can take yeast out of, some of the West-Vleteren, some of the Belgian beers, and use that to make your own Belgian beers. But obviously through generations it will gradually evolve and things like this. But yeah, you've got stuff like that you can do, and I wouldn't be surprised with the amount of sour beers and things that these guys are doing if they have kind of cultivated some of their own yeasts from outside and grown them and things, and maybe brought some Kvike yeasts in from Norway and things. But really, yeah, a very kind of farmhousey base to this beer. White bready wheat, a little bit of that kind of almost vegetally herbal kind of thing. I've always said that some of these beers with the farmhousey yeast, they smell like the inside of your kind of food recycle bin, which is interesting. But yeah, the aroma out of this is quite interesting. It's almost got the same kind of vibe that you get from brambles, from little berries and things like that. That sort of, not dustiness, but kind of herbalish quality. But the more and more that you smell of this beer, you'll feel that the limes just kind of juice up and things. I'm not unconvinced that this beer, if you had a cold, this one was probably one of these ones that could kind of clear the tubes, if you like. It's got a little bit of that kind of really not menthol type thing, but that thing that can just kind of clear your tubes. Actually, it's got a little bit of that about it, this beer, in terms of its aroma. It does feel very, very kind of fresh and sharp on the senses, actually. So yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in. Like I say, a little bit of grassy and floral character out of it, and a really interesting sort of farmhousey base, and you've got that juicy lemon limey quality coming out of it too. So let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Det Våras För, Det Våras För, however you want to pronounce it, from Örebro Brygghus in Örebro here in Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one. A 5% lime sour beer. Slange, skål. Oh yeah. Yeah. It really does have a wee bit of that kind of puckering quality to it in the beginning. Yeah, this one's, I like this. This is good. I mean, I'm not the most massive fan of limes. They can add like a nice little bit of subtlety, but to have the focus on limes, I don't know about that. I need to see if this beer grows on me a bit. And I mean, having said that, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with this beer. This is obviously a good beer, and if you love limes, you'll really like this. But I'm not used to lime kind of on its own. Just bear that in mind with this review. Yeah, I mean, I think in fairness, the more that you drink of this beer, it's always that thing when you take a sour beer in at first, it's always a bit kind of aggressive on the first thing, and then your palate really kind of warms up to it. I mean, I thought this could either be quite nice and well mixed, or it could be really one of the kind of sharper sours that you would get from these guys. But it's actually, it's got the drinkability that you expect of Örebro. I mean, the Ramble On, the berry sour that I had for you a couple of videos back, that was really very, very nice actually. And this one, it really has that same kind of vibe to the malt base. This is to me it's a very kind of subtle sour beer actually. I'm not convinced that lime can sort of hold its own, if you like. I think you probably need a little bit more of, you need something a little bit more in there than just lime. Lime's a nice kind of complementary flavour. I don't know if it can really take the reins itself, but as a beer, and if you like limes, as a beer it's good, and if you like limes, this one probably will tick a lot of the boxes for you. It's a well done beer, and knowing this brewery, I'm not surprised about that. Yeah, I think in terms of the sort of style as well, I don't think it's quite. I don't think it's quite sort of big or smooth enough to be a Berliner Weisse. I think this one is more of a. I think it is more just a kind of straight up sour ale, if you like. So let's try and break this one down a little bit and see how we get on. So you can feel the sort of woody base of this beer. That just blankets the middle of your tongue. On top of that, you can feel some of the wheaty notes, that you do get a bit of that smooth wheaty character in the middle of the palate there. As you come further forward, it smoothens out and wheatens and sort of sweetens up a little bit. Towards the back of the palate, you do get a little bit of a graininess there. You can really get those sort of farmhousey type flavours out of this one towards the back of the palate. It's almost a little kind of, it's not quite peppery, but it's not far off it, but you can really feel the centre of your palate and the more malty, yeasty kind of qualities towards the front of the palate, just sweetening up a little bit as you go further into the aftertaste with this one. So yeah, this is quite interesting. That the malt base of this one is quite well done. I like the way that it sort of sweetens up the more and more that you drink of it. In terms of the hoppy side of the beer, I'm not convinced there are hops in it. They're either using no hops or using old hops with this beer. But if you go to the back corners of the palate, you do get a little bit of that kind of earthy quality there. As you move further forward, it really gets a little bit more kind of herbal, to be honest with you. And as you reach the front kind of corners of the palate, it's a little bit floral. Around the very front curve of the tongue, it's a wee bit lighter and more grassy. And then of course the thing is, when you're adding fruit into the beer, you do get a little bit of that you get a little bit of that kind of, you get a little bit of the sort of IBU side of the beer being suppressed. Whenever you add fruit into the beer, it takes away a little bit of the IBUs from the green side of the hops. So you really can get, the further you go into the aftertaste, you get that light kind of juicy lime quality that lingers there until the aftertaste. So yeah, I like how this one, I do like how this goes together. I mean, you can tell it's a well crafted beer. I'm still unconvinced about lime being able to hold its own as a sour. I mean, this is quite a quirky beer. I'd be curious to know your own thoughts in this one, on this one in the comments section below. That would be quite an interesting thing. Maybe there's some other lime sours that you could recommend that I would try, but this one for me, if I compare this to the other beers that I've had from Örebro Brygghus, it's just personal preference. I'm not as keen on this one as I've been from some of the other ones. I mean, Ramble On I really liked, and you could sit and drink that all day. The Kveik, the fruit Kveik was quite an interesting one as well, although I probably would have picked Ramble On over that. And the other beers, the raspberry, was it a raspberry Berliner Weisse that I had? One of the first beers I had from them, that was really pretty nice. I mean, this one, I think, this might have been better as a Berliner Weisse, but you maybe need something a little bit sweeter, like strawberry or something like that. You maybe need something like that to kind of balance the lime out. I think lime struggles to hold its own in a sour beer unless you really like lime. A strawberry lime one. Thinking about the the kind of Kopparberg, Kopparberry ciders that you get, that could have been an interesting one for this. This one for me, I think it's interesting to try, but I think probably this will be the last time I would drink this one. And it's not that there's anything wrong with the beer, it just doesn't really kind of it just doesn't sort of tick the boxes for me in terms of personal preference. So this was really cool to try, but I think given the choice of other Örebro beers, I probably would go for that. And the only reason really is that I don't think lime can really hold its own in a sour beer. I'm open to being convinced about that. Maybe, as I say, if this was a Berliner Weisse and it was a bit smoother and sweeter in some way, then that might have convinced me. But I think as a sort of, just as a straight lime sour ale, I'm not convinced by that, I have to say. And I will say, the more that I drink of this one, it kind of juices up, and it does, my mouth does kind of adjust to it a little bit more, but I'm just still not convinced by it. I really just have to say that. And it's not as if Örebro Brygghus have done anything wrong. It's just I say, it's just not for me. You'll find beers like that every so often. In terms of let's focus on the kind of fruity part of the palate at the front end. So as I say, you get that limey sourness in there. It's got a little bit of a lemony quality to it as well, but you can feel the limes sort of mix in with the kind of grassy and floral side of the beer. And it's just, for me, it's a very sort of... it just doesn't quite have... With a sour beer, I just always think you want a kind of juiciness to it, and lime has never struck me as being a very kind of juicy fruit. And I mean, it's not... Sometimes, of course, you get yuzu sour, which is a big... Some of the citrusy fruits are capable, like lemon... I'm not sure, but you could have, you know, orange sours tend to be very nice. I'm not sure if I've had lemon sours. I'm not sure how that would kind of go together, but yuzu sours also tend to be very nice. I've had yuzu lambics from Showa Beer, I think they were the Lambic brewery from Japan. They've got some really interesting stuff. But I've just, on its own, I just think that lime can't really hold its own. It's not a kind of bold enough flavour, to be honest with you. So this is quite an interesting one, and I can see why they would want to try it. But I've said a few times, this one just doesn't strike the same chord with me as the other beers that I've had from Örebro. The RampantLion I thought was a very, very nice berry sour, and as I say, there's nothing wrong with this in terms of brewing or anything. It's just not for me compared to the other ones. So yeah, the fruity part of the beer, it's just kind of juicy and limey across the front part of the palate, and it's a bit more sour towards the edge, a little bit of that lemony tartness to it as well. But in terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say this one is a little bit more, you know, it does have a good little bit of sharp tartness to it in the beginning. It's quite a light-bodied beer, this one. I mean, maybe that's another thing that could have benefited this, would have been a slightly higher malt base, you know, taken up to like 6.5%, and you know, playing around with it. I mean, I know Bryghus, they've done a few sour beers. They've got like a cucumber sour and stuff, and I have to admit, I don't really fancy the taste of that. One of the main reasons I got this one was because I really like the Waiti hop, or no, sorry, it's Malteke. Malteke from over in New Zealand that has the limey flavours. I really like that one, and I also like the Equinox hop, which has a lot of limey flavours too as well. That was one of the main reasons why I kind of picked this one up. So yeah, that might have been another interesting approach to take with it, would have been to kind of dry hop it or something with either Malteke or what do you call it, or Equinox. That could have been another approach to take with it, but I think just as a sort of straight up light lime sour, this one's just not for me, I have to say. In terms of the mouthfeel then, as I said, quite a light-bodied beer. The carbonation does have a level of crispness to it. This one, overall, the mouthfeel is really kind of quite wet, to be honest with you. In terms of the kind of malty side of the beer, you can feel there's that smooth kind of, it almost has a kind of smooth, woody type base to it. On top of that, you get some of the kind of yeasty notes. It's got a little bit of breadiness in there as well, but the malt base I think is quite light and quite crisp, to be honest. On the hoppy sort of side of things, there's maybe I think you'd be lucky to get about 20 IBUs out of this one. There is a bit of juiciness from the lime, and you've got that kind of sharp tartness that comes in. It's quite punchy on the beginning, but I think the lime sort of juices out quite a lot. So overall, if you really like lime, I think you would quite enjoy this one, and I've got nothing against lime. I really just think it struggles to carry a beer on its own, to be honest with you, in a way that the likes of yuzu and orange wouldn't. You know, I think there's a reason why you get lemon and lime and why you get lemon on its own. So I mean, I think maybe this beer kind of shows why a little bit, actually. But as I say, there's nothing wrong with the quality of the beer or anything like that from Örebro Brygghus. These guys are a very, very capable brewery. This one just doesn't kind of tick the boxes for me, and sometimes that happens with beer. This is one that I got mainly for a kind of curiosity thing, you know, a lime sour, because you don't see too many of them about. Maybe there's a reason for that, I don't know. So, I mean, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. I think it would be interesting to know if there are other lime sours out there, but I think this one needs like strawberry or you know, blueberry, you know, something like that. It needs something that's just a little bit juicier and sweeter to complement that lime flavour to make it a more kind of accomplished beer. I really think just lime on its own struggles, to be honest with you. So yeah, let me know about that. I think this beer It's just missing something to complement the lime, but otherwise it's pretty good. It could have been better as a kind of straight up Berliner Weisse. A lime Berliner Weisse could have been interesting, maybe, with the kind of bigger wheaty and smooth presence to it. It might have been more interesting with a little bit of a higher alcohol content too, who knows. So yeah, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Örebro Brygghus as well. We'll leave it at that for the tasting, of course, but thank you again for watching my reviews, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. This one is the Det Våras För, a 5% lime sour beer from Örebro Brygghus in Örebro here in Sweden. An interesting one this, but as I say, not if I had the choice of other Örebro beers over this one, I'd probably go for those. The RampantLion was really pretty good, so check out that one. Have a go at this one if you are really into limes, but just beware, I don't think this one is quite the same level as some of the other beers you're going to get from Örebro Brygghus. Not that it's brewed badly, just I think lime doesn't sort of work on its own in a sour beer, but hey ho. But yeah, thank you again for watching my reviews. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Until next time, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Det Våras För, a 5% lime sour from Örebro Brygghus in Örebro here in Sweden. Slanja, skål, cheers.